Hello everyone, I am the Weather Dude, welcome back, and today we're going to be taking a look at some areas in the United States that could potentially see some major snowstorms over the next couple of weeks. So of course be sure to stay tuned for the whole video so you don't miss any important information, and of course don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. Alright, we're going to get right into it here, starting off with some teleconnections here. So this is the North Atlantic Oscillation, basically just telling us what patterns we could see across the United States, because typically speaking, right, across the central and especially eastern United States, when we get in a negative phase of the North Atlantic Oscillation, right, we can see that here, this downtrend here, right, and when that happens, typically speaking, we can see some colder air come in, and if that coincides with an increase in storminess, and moisture, then we could potentially get some major snowstorms out of this, right? So this teleconnection is one that we certainly keep our eye on here. Again, called North Atlantic Oscillation, and it's trending downward towards the negative side, and that will continue doing so over the next couple of weeks. If we look at the PNA, which is a separate oscillation, kind of works in the opposite. So for example, the central and eastern United States, if you're in a negative PNA, you're actually going to see warmer conditions, and then positive PNA would generally correlate to the same thing that a negative NAO would, in other words. Right? It is also heading in the downward direction, but could maybe see a little spike upwards towards the end of the month. So these are just some oscillations to keep your eyes on in terms of looking at the overall pattern. Right? And I've used this in my snowstorm videos over the past few years as well. Nothing new here, but just to kind of give you guys an update on where we stand in regards to those teleconnections. Take a look at some models here, right? Kind of looking at some areas that could maybe see, some snowstorms. So let's take a look at the GFS model here. We're in the middle of the month here, probably about a few days out. And you can see right here, we see a low pressure move across the east. Now, what's funny about this one is it starts off as a low pressure system to the north, right? So in other words, the snow is mainly kept up in Canada. But what eventually happens is that the low pressure actually kind of phases to the south. There's like another low that develops around here, and that becomes the dominant low, right? We see these with nor'easters a lot. Another low pressure forms, becomes the more dominant low pressure system. So when that happens, you can see the low pressure will move up the coast here, and that will allow for some heavy snow to break out across the northeast. So now, again, this is pretty far out. This is about a week or so out, maybe like a week to 10 days. So do keep that in mind, but this is certainly an area that we need to keep our eyes on for potentially some heavy snow. All right, so let's take a look here at the total snowfall according to the GFS with that system I just showed you. So taking a look, you can see again across the northeast, 6 to 12 inches of snow, and many areas could even see 1 to 2 feet of snow anywhere in that green color. So western Maine, New Hampshire, most of the state of Vermont. But in those blue colors, we could even see 2 to 3 feet, right? Some areas of Vermont, Mount Washington, New Hampshire, for example. And even some snowfall potentially getting down into, western Massachusetts, northwestern Connecticut. We could see some snowfall maybe in the lower elevations as well, but this is certainly a storm system to keep our eye on here. Now, if we move on to another area that we're watching, we're still in the GFS model right now, but this time we're towards the end of the month, so between like the 20th and 21st of November, just another system I thought I should update you guys on. So there's potentially another low pressure, right? We have Hurricane Rafael sitting in the Gulf of Mexico here, but there's another low pressure that could potentially rise up here from the south and kind of move with this other low pressure system, right? So this low moves off the coast, but another one forms to the west, right? We see the one off the coast here, one to the west, and that one that forms closer to the coast is coinciding with a high pressure building out in the northern plains, which is going to be sending cold air to the south, like so. So when that happens, some snowfall could potentially break out just north and west of the I-95 corridor. Again, 20 to 21st of November. This is well beyond 10 days out, probably about 12 days. So do keep that in mind, but that is a chance, right? This is something we haven't seen yet in the models this year so far for this winter season. Maybe we get one of our first coastal storms. That is certainly a possibility as well. If we take a look here at the snowfall totals with that system, again, mainly light accumulations, right? Maybe like a dusting to 2 inches across most of the Northeast from like West Virginia to New Hampshire. But there are some areas, most of Pennsylvania could see 2 to 4 inches of snow, right? Maybe in those higher elevations near where the Appalachians are, maybe 6 to 8 inches of snow is possible during that 24-hour period where that storm is making its way off the coast. So the storm is tracking in a direction like so, right? So if it's off the coast too much, Snow will probably be further south and lighter. But if it's off to the north and west, right, like a track like I just painted on the screen here, right, it's closer to the coast, the snow will get pushed inland, but if there's enough cold air for it to tap into, the snowfall totals could certainly be on the higher end. So something to definitely keep an eye out here over the next couple of weeks. All right, we're gonna do a bit of a model switch now, so we're gonna move on to the Canadian model. Now, unlike the GFS, the Canadian doesn't have as much, but I did pick out 2 areas really to keep our eyes on. So we take a look, and you can see a low pressure movement across the northern plains. Now you might be like, well, I don't see nothing significant with that. Well, if we take a look, the low pressure is deepening in strength. And now this time of year, when you start to see a low pressure really, strengthen, it can tap into some that colder Canadian air. And you can already see those blue lines kind of come to the south here, right? And that generally means that the cold air will be moving behind the low pressure system. And some snow could break out across the Dakotas and Minnesota. We really haven't seen too much so far this year, right? So we could certainly get, towards the middle of the month, maybe we could see some snow break out across the northern plains. The second area I thought you should keep an eye on is the northwest. Right as that low pressure system is moving out, we start to see another one move on shore, and it could bring some heavy snow in the mountainous regions and of course some heavy rain on the coast for areas in the northwestern United States. And these storms, right, generally end up like the one here. They sit in the Rockies and they eventually eject out into the plains. Maybe they go to the east, right, in potentially several different directions. But they always got to start somewhere, right? So they generally form off the coast and they move into the northwestern or even southwestern at times United States. Because sometimes we have a low pressure system that'll come in here, kind of just sit in the Rockies and maybe come out this way. And we'll probably start to see that more as we head into the actual winter months in December, January, February. But just those 2 areas I thought I should keep you guys updated on. And if we take a look here at the Canadian model snowfall, right? Again, same model, just looking at the potential snow. Again, Rocky Mountain regions, really no surprise here. I mean, you're gonna rack up several inches, even feet of snow, potentially over the next 10 days. But again, that area across the Dakotas, Minnesota, right? Just thought I should keep an eye on, right? Potentially get a couple inches of snow out of it. But again, mountainous regions, the Cascades, the Rockies, gonna be racking up the snow totals big time here. And I think that's something, I'm sure you guys, if you live in this area, you're probably already prepared for it because we've probably been having snow here for 1 or 2 months. But still, definitely a lot more snow is going to be coming your way. So the Rockies, just like I said in my winter forecast video, it's been pretty active, and it's probably going to be staying active here in the short term. If we take a look now at our final model of the video, we have the European model. Take a look, and you can see the low pressure system, because like I said just earlier, we have storms that could potentially hit the northwestern United States and some that could come through the southwest. And ones that come through the southwest can generally come from this direction and maybe eject out into the plains like this. Right now, sadly, the European model ends, right as the storm is actually moving in. But if you take a look, you can see the low pressure kind of rises up like this in this direction, and we see some snow breaking out here across central and eastern Colorado. So that is something to keep an eye on as well. Now you might be thinking, well, that's just mountainous regions anyway, right? It's mainly mountainous, why does it really matter? There's still mainly rain in the plain states. Well, if we take a look here, we do see that we could potentially have on our hands here several inches of snow on the eastern part of the state of Colorado here. And the eastern part is generally not mountainous. It's generally actually flatter than the central and western part of the state. Even, the western tip of Oklahoma and northwestern tip of Texas, you guys could even see a little bit of snow out of this as well, maybe a few inches. But these are different areas of the United States, right? Again, we talked about the Northeast, we talked about, the North Central, and the Rockies. So these are just areas that we should keep our focus on over the next couple of weeks. So thank you guys so much for watching today's video. I am The Weather Dude signing off. Till next time, I'll catch you guys in the next video.